wherever it's lacking and just, find how you can, fill in those cracks.
Find areas where it's lacking, fill in the cracks. That's great. That's great. What about John? What about you? What are some ways that you think you can grow a business?
Um, well, I think you could definitely. It depends on on certain factors such as if it's a brick and mortar or if it's strictly online. But I would say things like marketing. Um, definitely marketing is important. To, grow your business. Obviously putting capital towards growing it as well, especially if it's a startup. Um, I mean those are the main two things I feel like especially if you start from scratch. It's going to be most important. In the beginning.
You said, I want to make sure I understand you correctly. You said just throw capital at the business.
Oh, and marketing, yeah. Especially right,
In
especially in the
marketing, in
beginning,
marketing.
right?
Yep. Those are the most common ways that people will grow a business is marketing capital.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. This question right here, some people involved in real estate. I don't think I know. John, you're involved in
Yeah,
real
yeah,
estate,
yeah.
right?
I guess I'm a star right now because I'm just hitting all the points right now. But nah. Yeah. I'm definitely wholesaling right now. I've been wholesaling for a few years. Like I said, I have a few deals in the pipeline right now. So yeah, I mean, since like 2017, I've been an agent. Only for a few years though, but my goal the whole time was to adjust myself in the off market space in creative ways. When it comes to real estate. So yeah, that's my longest background.
Got it. Wholesaling and those are quick flips. I've done a couple of those. I've done some fix and flips as well. Omar, what about real estate for you? You involved in any real estate?
Nah, man, I'm not really involved in real estate. I'm pretty young in terms of my age, so I just work with what I got, right? And real estate isn't like really something, I've dived into.
Okay. And both of you guys, did you guys get a chance to check out the video I did, flipping houses versus flipping real estate?
Yeah, I checked out the video.
Perfect. I'm gonna touch on a little bit of that tonight, not a whole lot, real short, it's gonna be short. But if you watch that video, then I hope you guys can see that from an investment standpoint, buying a business is a much more profitable investment than real estate, without a shadow of a doubt. Did you guys get that from that video?
Uh,
Oh yeah,
I,
for
I was
sure.
I was I was smiling and laughing the whole time because I actually saw it twice. I was like, man, because obviously I didn't know about I didn't know about acquiring businesses to this point in this way. So when I was just thinking about single family rentals and everybody like you touched on it perfectly in the video about how real estate acquiring properties and things like that, it's the talk of the town. It's been like that for a few years now, and it's so saturated to the point where we don't even really know the truth behind the numbers. So I was just like, man, if I would have knew this a couple years ago, man, I would have went straight towards. But 2020 is hindsight, So yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. We talk about red oceans and blue oceans. Um, Real estate is a red ocean, bro. Like there's just so much competition. It's ridiculous, and it's you get a deal, and then the seller's getting three other people that's calling about that same property. So and then on top of that, the customers, or not customers, but the property owners, they're getting bombarded with marketing on an everyday basis of people that are reaching out to them to try to purchase their property from them in the residential space. And so, if I get 10 phone calls a day, or 10 letters a week from people looking to buy my property, then really the only thing that's going to make me work with someone is price, right? When there's a lot of competition, and I'm sure Omar in the Amazon business, you probably can see that, where if there's a lot of people selling the same products, then the only way that you can really compete, unless if that product really stands out, the only way that you can really compete is with price. Would you agree with me with that, Omar?
Yeah, absolutely. And as more like, sellers enter the market, profits just go down and down and down until there's really no money to be made. And I'm starting to see that also.
Yep. Yep, that's what happens. More and more people get into it, right? Now you got 10 people selling the same, if it's a hat, 10 people selling the same hat. And so there's really the only way you can compete is you got to have a lower price. And then you got a lower price, now you get squeezed out on the margins. And so, I think when people first started talking about it, when it first came out, I think it was a great, and we're going to talk a little bit about Amazon FBA today as well. People first started talking about it. I think it was a really great investment opportunity. But like I said, as time goes on, more and more people get into that market, it gets tighter and tighter, regarding profit margins. As you guys know, both you guys are following me already on TikTok and Instagram. So I appreciate the follows. And really what I'm all about, man, is about skipping the startup phase, right? Buying an existing business, you can skip the startup phase. You don't have to start a business from scratch. You don't have to, and what else, the other thing you're going to find is that buying an existing business really is the best investment vehicle. It's the best way that you can get a return on your investment, right? Every time I go live, any meetings, I always have to make a disclaimer, right? I'm not an attorney, I'm not a tax professional, I'm not a financial advisor. None of the information that I share with you guys is considered as legal, financial, or tax advice, and it's all based off of my personal experience. What I'm about to go over, I hope that it creates questions. That's the whole reason why I wanted to go over something briefly, is so that I create questions in your mind, and then at the end, we'll have a Q&A. We can either talk about some of the questions that I hopefully created in your mind, or B, if you have a deal that you want to review or get some eyes on, I can go over that deal. All right. So let's just get into it, man. Mergers and acquisitions. This has definitely changed my life, for sure. When I talk about the freedom that it's given me, the time that I've been able to spend with my family. I've spent almost $800,000 in learning how to buy existing businesses, whether I talk about education, my college degrees, as well as money that I spent in consulting. And then when I talk about the money that I've lost in deals, I spent almost $600,000 in that, in cash, right? This is literal money that has come out of my family's pocket. But as I state, the time that it gives me with my family is priceless, right? I can't put a price tag on the ability for me to be able to take my family to an amusement park any day of the week, right? We went to Disney a week and a half ago. This week, me and my wife are going on a cruise just because. There's no reason, there's nothing special. I don't have to, because I have businesses and I have managers that are running my businesses, I don't have to ask anybody for a day off, right? I can just go. And so people that are stuck in 9 to 5, people that are stuck in the rat race, or even people that are stuck as self-employed, if you're self-employed, if you don't work, then your business doesn't make money, right? And so I really just want to just talk about that a little bit. I also want to make mention that time is really of the essence. When we talk about buying businesses, we talk about market cycles. You saw the video at the end of the video, how I talk about market cycles, and how we're dealing with these, the silver tsunami that is coming, right? We have 10,000 baby boomers that are retiring every single day, and many of them they own small businesses, right? 40 to 50% of all small businesses are owned by baby boomers. And the studies have shown that 67% of those boomers actually have profitable businesses, right? They have $1 million businesses that are profitable, but they have a problem. There's a major problem that they are facing, which is they don't have a succession plan, right? They have nobody to pass these businesses to. And I talked about how if they don't pass these businesses to the next generation, they can't find the right person to buy this business or to pass it to. Ultimately, what happens is they close it. And you see it all over Main Street America. where a business was doing great and now you're seeing going out of business here. Why? Because they didn't have a succession plan, right? Maybe, you know, they had children, but their children want nothing to do with the business because they've been around that business their entire lifetimes. And when they're actually old enough to take over the business from their parents, many of them would choose a different path, right? You know, dad was a carpenter. I don't want to be a carpenter, right? I want to do something else. Dad was in the automotive business. I don't want to look at another car because I've been holding wrenches and such for my dad my entire life. I mean, me personally, my dad was in the trucking business. My dad's been around trucking his entire life. And when I got into this space of acquiring businesses, I will say in the beginning, I started looking at acquiring trucking companies, but I started talking to these business owners, you know, these trucking companies, and the more and more I dug into it, I was like, man, like, do I really want to get back into that same business, right? My dad has a truck company right now. You know, when he's ready to retire, I'll take it over and plug somebody in there. But right now, like, I'm not excited to get into that business. And so that's what's happening across the country. You got these millennials. They can take over their parents' businesses, but many of them, they say they don't want anything to do with it. Others are not in a financial position to take over the family business, right? They're not in a financial position to take over the family business while providing their parents with a healthy retirement, because we know that retirement is expensive. It is expensive. These baby boomers, they sell their business as a form of retirement. For entrepreneurs and everybody that, both of you guys that are on this call, everybody that's in the group, we're entrepreneurs. We don't have a retirement plan, okay? Retirement plans are for employees. But if you're an entrepreneur, there is no retirement plan for you. Your retirement is your business. And that's the case with these boomers that have created these amazing businesses. Their retirement plan is selling their business. But if they have children and their children are so broke that they can't afford to purchase that business from their parent, can that parent retire? No, they got to look at different ways that they can try to pull money out of it. And that's why you see these guys shutting the business down and selling off the assets, because their kids aren't in a position to buy the businesses from them, right? And in addition to that, their kids don't have, in many cases, the knowledge or the wisdom on how to put deals together, because M&A, mergers and acquisitions deal structure, it can be a complicated process. You see here, there's 5 steps, right? There's 5 steps in a deal, but if you don't know what those steps are, if you don't know how to put all that stuff together, you don't know how to put together funding, it can be very, very difficult, you know, especially for these kids and their parents working in business, for them to set something up to where their parent can actually retire. And so in summary, why baby boomers children don't buy the businesses from their parents: 1, they either don't want the business. 2, they're not in a financial position to buy it from them. Or 3, they don't know how to put deals together. Right? This is the marketplace. This is the landscape that we're in right now. But what if there was a marketplace where you could find and buy these unwanted, profitable businesses? You knew where to find the money to buy them, and you knew how to put deals together. You would be able to really change the game. And that's what this whole thing is about, is bringing you guys to the idea that you can do this. You can buy an existing business. It's not that hard to do, right? This guy right here, Bill Gates. Everybody heard of Bill Gates?
Yeah.
Omar, you heard of Bill Gates?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
John, you heard of Bill Gates?
Oh yeah, I definitely heard of Bill Gates.
This man, this fortune that he has amassed, he got it through acquisitions. That's how he got there. He bought MSDS for 75 grand. And then he went on to buy other companies, right? Amazon, another $1 trillion company. The way that this company has gotten as big as it is through acquisitions, buying companies. And these acquisitions don't have to be large, right? If you look at it, Whole Foods was a huge acquisition for Amazon. I think this is in the billions, 13.7. But IMBD, which was one of their first acquisitions, was on a much smaller scale, right? And I'll say that Amazon, when it comes to acquisitions, they've done so many of them. There's literally a Wikipedia page dedicated to their purchases. Anybody know who this guy is?
50 Cent. 50 Cent.
50 Cent. 50 Cent. I love 50 Cent, man. And I've been following his story for a very, very long time. Get Rich or Die Trying. That was literally the first album that I ever bought. Get Rich or Die Trying was the first album that I ever bought. Bought it for $10 off of at a flea market. But his story, if you look at it, I'm changing gears a little bit. His story is really a great example of something that is called the cash flow quadrant. And so if you're buying existing businesses, you have to understand the cash flow quadrant, because and I'll explain what the cash flow quadrant is in a second. But you guys seen the video, so you should be familiar with it. But his story is really a great example of the cash flow quadrant, because he started out as an artist, which is really just an employee. Then he got a label, which is as a business owner. He started pitching deals, self-employed, and still in the self-employed, and now he's getting into the acquisition space, where he's reached a zenith of being self-employed in regards to production, because he has a production company. He's selling these shows. He's selling Power. He's selling BMF. And now he's reached a point where he's like, man, I need more control. And the only way that he can get more control is by being an investor. That's the only way you can get more control, is by being an investor. And I'll tell you that buying businesses gives you control, and it gives you something else that I'm going to talk about in a second. But like I said, he's a great example of something that's called the cash flow quadrant. Robert Kiyosaki, the same author of the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, he wrote another book called The Cash Flow Quadrant, where he talks about how everybody is in one of these four quadrants. You are either an employee trading your time for money, you are self-employed trading time for money, or you're a business owner trading your employees' time for money, or an investor trading money for money, right? On the left side, which most of you guys are on, you are trading your time for money. If you don't work, you don't make any money, period, right? And I got to dig on the self-employed, because for a long time, especially for a long time, we've been taught that being self-employed is a good thing, but in reality, it's not, right? Talk about Amazon FBA. Well, I won't talk about. I'll talk about that in a second. When I got out of the Navy, we had a trucking company, and we were kind of scaling that company. We had a couple of trucks, had a couple of drivers, and I was overseeing the whole business. And if someone asked me, I would say, if they asked me what do I do, I would say, well, I'm a business owner. But in reality, I was self-employed, and I'll tell you how. I was running the business, and there were times where, like, maybe my wife at the time, I think we were dating. She wasn't my wife. We were dating, and she wanted to go to Disney World. And I booked a trip to Disney World. And when we got down there, I spent the majority of my mornings working, booking loads for my drivers, right? If a truck broke down, I'm finding a towing company nearby. Like I was literally running the business I was literally running the business while I was on vacation. And that's really what tends to happen when you're in that self-employed space is you have a business, but if you don't work it, then everything goes to hell, right? Because it really takes your time in order to get that money. Now, if I really knew how to be a business owner during that time, which I didn't, instead of me taking those calls for those customers, I mean, from the customers or from my drivers, I would have had employees take those calls for me, right? And that's the beauty of being a business owner is you get to trade other people's time for money. But as a business owner, there's still levels of control. Not level of control. There's still a time that you have to take to oversee certain things, right? You can have a business with 5, 6, 7 employees, but there's still things that you have to oversee. And so where you guys really want to get to is becoming an investor, because as an investor that buys businesses, you are able to hire people that do those things for you, right? You get to hire people that oversee the business for you. Okay, is everybody is anything that I'm saying making sense?
Yeah,
Am I
it's
making
making
sense?
complete sense.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
I mean, for me, as somebody who has some type of experience with business and stuff like that, it's like even right now I'm doing DoorDash. Before that I was doing Uber. That's all self-employed. Because as soon as I stop the car, I'm not making any money. So these are things I'm super aware of. You just have to get to that point where you have to, or where you could, put someone in place. So I definitely feel that, it's a little bit of a pain though when you can't, do that at the moment. So you just got to grind and get to that point. But I know, and I'm
Exactly.
glad you that out.
Exactly. And some people may be in this space of being a business owner, but eventually you want to evolve to be an investor. But the great thing about buying an existing business is that you have the ability to come in day one as an investor. You're able to spend that money to purchase the business, and the business already has the employees and the managers in place to run it. And as I said before, buying a business is literally the best investment that you can make, because it gives you two things: leverage and control. That's what buying a business does. It gives you leverage and control. When you're on the left side of this as an employee or self-employed, you don't have any, you don't really have any leverage, and you definitely don't have control, right? You lose those things. Even when you start a business from scratch, you don't have leverage and control, right? There was a quote that, see if I can find that quote. And, when we're talking about leverage and control, I want to find this quote. When you talk about starting a business from scratch, the problem with starting a business from scratch is that you give up your time and your money because you have to deal with unknown factors as you attempt to grow the business. That's the problem with starting a business from scratch. You give up time and money, and then you also have to deal with unknown factors that pop up as you attempt to scale or grow the business, right? And so that's why I'm talking about skipping the startup, because we want to get past that. But when you buy a business, you're able to leverage two things while still retaining a significant level of control, right? You're able to leverage other people's time, and you're able to leverage your money. When you talk about the foreign exchange market, you guys know what Forex is?
Yep, I was something else I dabbled with. I did everything.
John, you dabble with everything. So you dabble with Forex. What about you, Omar? You know what the foreign exchange market is?
Yep, and I've dabbled into it also.
How much money have you lost?
Man, a lot.
You saw that was the question that I asked, right? How much money have you lost? I've lost money too with the foreign exchange market. And when you talk about investments, the reason why I don't think it's a great investment is because you don't control the currencies. Countries do, right? And there's a lot of other unknown factors. Like when you talk about investing your money into something, foreign exchange market, you don't get that. Same thing with the stock market. If you're dabbling in the stock market, you don't have control of the direction of that company. Somebody else does. And I really don't even want to get started on crypto. I've lost a lot of money in crypto. I've lost a lot of money in crypto because it's another thing that you really cannot control. So as an investment, it's not a great place to really dig your money into, right? Amazon FBA. Omar, can you tell us a little bit how Amazon FBA works?
Yeah, so there's different ways that Amazon FBA works, but I guess like the gist of it is basically you find a product and you do research on it and then you order units and then you send it into Amazon and yeah, it just gets shipped out from their warehouses to customers when they place an order on Amazon. But I'll just go ahead and say one thing real quick. Anything when it comes to online business, especially Amazon, you're playing on their playground, right? So it's their rules, and you're basically at the mercy of them. And that's the problem, that I'm having with Amazon or in any online business in general. You're at the mercy of big tech, right? So that's just the whole gist of that.
I agree 100%. And you hit it on the head, right? With Amazon FBA, you find a product, and then you get it to the fulfillment center, and then hopefully somebody finds it on a website and they purchase it. But you hit the nail on the head. Amazon controls your access to customers, right? And the customers are who pay you. But another entity is in control of your access to customers. Amazon FBA is worse than buying a franchise, right? Franchises like McDonald's, Wendy's, hotels, all these different businesses where you can purchase a franchise. I get people that ask me, should I purchase a franchise? Is that a good investment to get into? Well, franchises, even in the definition, right? A business in which the operator pays a mixture of upfront and ongoing fees in order to license the brand name and supporting resources of a parent company. When you engage, if you purchase a franchise, that franchise controls your business and they're able to take profits off the top. They tell you when you have to renovate your building, when you have to renovate your facility. You could have spent $100,000 to renovate your facility 2 years ago. And now the franchise that you purchased, they decide that they want to go in a different direction. And because of that franchise agreement that you have with them, and they say, now you got to renovate the building, you got to take another $100,000 and renovate it all over again, right? Because you have to make the building look the way that they tell you that it has to look. And so they have a lot of control in addition to them taking profit right off of the top, right? Which is why I said that buying a business is literally the best investment that you can make because it gives you leverage and control, right? And if you already own a business, buying an existing business allows you to scale. We talked about different ways that you can grow a business. You can increase the number of ideal customers. You can get customers to buy more often. You can increase, the sales value. You can improve your systems and processes, which includes marketing, right? But and those are ways that you can get nice, steady, slow growth within a business. But if you buy an existing business, you can replicate that model much faster, right? You'll go from this one business that you're trying to do that in to two. In the video that you guys have seen, I talked about the little corner store and how for $260,000 you purchase a corner store that's doing $85,000 in profit, $640,000 in top line sales, 85 grand in profit, which equates to about $7,000 a month in cash flow. And I think this particular business, it had either had 5 employees or had 7 employees. And I talked about how if you held that business over the course of 10 years, it would give you about $913,000 in profit, right? Now imagine if you just had 2 of them. You know, if you had this one corner store and you're trying to grow it and you're using those 4 ways that we just talked about and trying to grow that business, yeah, maybe you can get the profit margin from 85 grand to 100 grand, you know, within a year, right? But if you just bought a second corner store that was making this, that had the same profit margin, you literally are able to double both your revenue and your profit overnight. I don't know if what I'm saying making sense. Like it's crazy. You can double your net worth overnight just by buying an existing business. And that's if you bought a second one. Now, what if you bought 5 of them? How would that affect you, Omar?
It'll probably make me very happy. Yeah.
What about you, John?
Yeah.
Are you about to say something, Omar? Did I cut you off?
Oh no, I was just muting my mic.
John, you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What about you?
I'm sorry. I was just doing delivery. Say again.
How would having 5 businesses affect you?
Man, you know, when I first saw this piece the other day, yesterday, I was good with 2. You know, so to have 5, I mean, you know, because you got to remember, I'm coming from the background of, you know, a lot of us come from the background of, like you touched on, you know, super low margins, you know, super low profits. So to have one that's taking over, you know, your bills and your everyday lifestyle, and you add another one, and you already like kind of satisfactory on the income side. I mean, we talking about, real wealth right here,
Real wealth, right? And you already know what happened if you go from 10, and it doesn't take that long to do this. It really doesn't take that long to do this. You can go from 1 business to 5 businesses within a year. You could literally go from 1 business to 5 businesses within a year, fairly quickly. Second year, here you go, right? One last thing I want to talk about, and then we'll get right into the Q&A. When we talk about this cash flow quadrant, everybody know who this guy is?
Yeah, that's Jay-Z.
Jay-Z. Y'all like Jay-Z? What y'all think about Jay-Z? His music?
I mean, I'm biased. I'm from Brooklyn.
You're biased? Oh yeah, you're from New York.
Yeah.
What about you, Omar? What you think about Jay-Z?
Yeah, I mean, he has good music, but I'm young also, so I'm not like, too crazy, into Jay-Z.
You're not too
right?
crazy about him. Man, I grew up on Jay. I more than anything, what I like, I love his music, but I like the moves that he made. But there was this song that he did. And the thing that I like about his music, one thing I'll say about his music is that his music, it ages very well. If you go back and listen to some of his older stuff, he drops a lot of gems in his music to help kind of elevate your thinking. There was a song that he did on his album Kingdom Come. The song's called 30 something, and he said, I don't got the bright watch, I got the right watch. I don't buy out the bar, I bought the night spot. I got the right spot. That's a heavy line right there. He said, I don't buy out the bar, I bought the night spot. And what he was making reference to was his 40/40 club that he bought. He bought a club. He bought a club, right? When we talk about the cash flow quadrant, which quadrant do you think he was operating out of when he bought a club?
He was definitely an investor.
The investor?
Omar, you said investor. John, what did you say?
I said he was definitely an investor at that point.
Exactly. Exactly. Sometimes when I ask this question, people will say business owner, but he wasn't operating the business because you're not going to see him talking to employees, right? He's not in the day-to-day of that business. He's using his
Right.
money to purchase it, and then he hired a CEO to run the day-to-day, right? That's so.
Yep,
But when
100%.
we talk about an artist, a music artist that buys a nightclub, really what he's doing is eliminating business expenses. That's what he's doing. He's eliminating business expenses. And what I'm really getting at is if you have an existing business, buying another business is a great way to eliminate your expenses, right? As an artist, he has entertainment expenses, right? A rapper can write off expenses if they're entertaining a client, a customer, an employee, and total money can't be lavish or extravagant. And then they have advertising and publicity expenses, where they can use that method to write off expenses if they're reasonable and also related to the rapper's business. Well, by buying a club, what happens to his entertainment expenses and his advertising expenses?
They go up.
You said they go up. What about you, John?
No, I was gonna say that they minimize. They minimize to a point where he could focus on other acquisitions, focus on other mergers and things like that.
Exactly. By him buying a club, he already has a business. Self-employed as an artist, right? He's self-employed as an artist. He's trading his time for money. As an artist, he has to go on stage, right? He has to sell shows. He's self-employed. He's already making money from that. But by being an investor and acquiring a business, he can wipe out the expenses from his self-employed business, right? And his customers are the ones that are actually paying those expenses. This is why I said that buying a business, if you already own a business, buying a business is a great way for you to eliminate expenses. Any expense that you have in a current business that you own, if you bought a business that provides that product or service, then that expense disappears. I want to say that again. If you already own a business and you acquire another business, any product or service that you are currently paying for, it will literally disappear. Why? Because the new business is providing that. And that's what he understood. That's why he went and bought that club, which allowed him to scale. And then he went on to make other investments, other acquisitions, because he was operating out of that investor portion of the cash flow quadrant. Everybody wants to be a CEO. You guys want to be CEOs?
I don't have a choice right now. I'm a one-man show right
Yeah,
now.
sure, of course. Mm-hmm.
Right? But what we should really want is we should want to be investors. Because as an investor that buys businesses, you can hire and fire CEOs. That's the benefit of being a business investor. You can hire and fire CEOs. You can hire people to run the day-to-day of your business, right? We really gotta elevate our thinking on this. Questions? Any questions about anything I went over?
Real quick, I just want to point out with the Jay-Z example, and even before that, the case study that you were touching on yesterday and just now, you can see how once you get to that point of owning a business in an investor standpoint, you can kind of see where once you get to that point, you can scale so efficiently that you get to a point where you have 2, 3, 4 businesses at a time, and that capital, that revenue is going to allow you to do so many more moves at such a higher level. That's kind of something I was studying for the past couple weeks now. Especially when you talk about things like rolling up businesses and things like that. So it's really something to think about because like I said again, when you're not in that position of capital or revenue, it's going to be hard to scale. At that level. So it's definitely something to think about.
Absolutely. And you guys have seen the video, so you saw that. Yes, if you have money, you can buy a business much more quicker, right? If you have money to invest, you can buy a business within a week and a half, 2 weeks. Now, I wouldn't recommend buying a business in 2 weeks. I wouldn't recommend it. I've done it before, right? That's why I said I wouldn't recommend it. I bought a business shortest time frame from meeting the business seller to actually closing on the deal was about 2 weeks, and it was actually a no money down deal that I did. No, it was a dollar deal. It was a dollar deal. I bought half that business for $1. I've done that. And so I talk about that. You don't have to have a whole lot of money to be able to buy a business. But if you have money, it definitely can help you purchase one much quicker, right? Those examples of the no money down deals that I've done within a 2-3 week period, I had momentum, and I was able to move because I had the right positioning. I was positioned right. I had my holding company up, which is one of the things that I talked about. I had my holding company all set up. I was properly positioned in that regard. I knew what questions to ask the seller to properly frame their mind to see me as a person that could run their business. And so it wasn't difficult for them to make the decision to say, hey, yeah, let me go ahead and do this deal with this guy. But if I was going to put capital into those deals could have possibly moved even faster, right? And so I do want to say that, John, because it's a recurring theme, where you're in a space now where you're stuck in that employee mode, and you're trying to break out of it, and money is an obstacle, but you don't have to have money to do a deal. What you really need is you need information. You need to know how to move. You could take all the money that I have, take it away, throw me in a random city in the middle of nowhere. Just give me $100 and somewhere to rest my head, and within a few weeks I'll have a business because I know what to look for, and I know how to structure a deal in a way where it makes sense for a business owner to do that, and that's what I teach my clients. But you don't have. But again, you don't have to be bankrolling to buy a business, right? We talk about Jay-Z and him buying the 40/40 club. How much you think a nightclub costs? And I'm not talking about a nightclub. He paid millions of dollars for the 40/40 club. But I'm not talking about a nightclub on that level. I'm not even talking about just a nightclub building. I'm talking about a nightclub that is running, that has employees. How much do you think you could buy one for? Price range.
Probably like a $500,000 to $1 million, even more probably.
$500,000 to $1 million.
Depends on.
And if you paid $500,000, $1 million for that nightclub, how much you think that nightclub would make in top line sales? I'm not talking about profit. Top line sales before expenses. How much you think $500,000 will get you?
Probably like at least 500, at least probably like $1 million, probably, depending on how popular a nightclub is, or if it's an upscale one, or is it like a crappy one. So that depends. But if you're like talking about like an upscale, probably $1 million plus for sure.
$1 million plus for sure. Okay, what about you, John?
I was thinking more of depending on location and things like that. But I would say in terms of capital up front, I would say at least like maybe a couple hundred, and maybe top line sales maybe like 500, depending on location.
I did a random search for nightclubs, just a random search. The first one that popped up was this one. Random search. Nightclub is killing it, York County, South Carolina, middle of nowhere. $350,000. For $350,000, a nightclub that has a profit of $150,000 a year is making $1 million. So you could buy $1 million nightclub for the price of a single family house, right? The same price that you pay for a entry level home, you could buy a nightclub that's doing $1 million in sales. I don't know if that's like mind blowing to you guys. I don't know. Huh?
But by the way, I just want to, real quick, I just love how you jabbing at real estate. You stabbing real estate. I love it.
I got to. You guys seen how when I took the profit and loss statement of the real estate, you compare that to this nightclub. I mean, it's really like night and day when you look at the profit margins of a rental property, even versus a small a nightclub. When I talk about real estate, you guys seen the $28,000 check that I made in real estate, and this is common. This is the average price you can make in a flip. But I made $100,000 buying a business, right? And this is something that is replicable. You can literally, if you know how to structure deals, you can literally get paid to buy a business. And you guys seen the example. I don't know if I put the other. Should have put a couple examples in there of deals that I've done, buying and getting paid to buy a business. But you can literally get paid to buy a business if you know how to structure deals, where your bank account is going from this to this overnight. And so I want to stop right there and get into the Q&A. What questions do you guys have?
I have a question on, I think like acquiring the business is like half of it. What about like hiring the right person to manage it? And that goes into a little bit more into the next question on, a lot of businesses, they have their owner that's very heavily involved. How do you step away from that?
Great question. So actually, you asked two questions. The first question was the first question that you asked. Let me make sure I heard it correctly. You asked, how do you buy a business? No, how do you manage the business after you buy it? Was that the first question?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How do you manage the business after you buy it?
Like hiring the right person.
How do you get the right person to manage the business after you buy it? So one of the things that I talk about, I don't know if I probably showed you guys in the presentation, but session 5, we talk about the transition of that business, transition of employees. One of the things before you even get into the business, right? Before you even purchase the business, you talk to the business owner, and the business owner is going to give you something that is called a list of key employees, right? So the type of businesses that I look for, the type of businesses that I direct my clients to look for, are businesses that have a minimum of 5 key employees. Okay, a minimum of 5 key employees. Why do I want a minimum of 5 key employees? Because with 5 employees, I don't have to work in the business. 5 employees, there's already systems in place where that business is operating. And with 5 people, there's a chain of command within that number. So, I don't have to worry about me having to jump into that business and manage it because it's already being managed. The type of businesses that I look for, the type of business that my clients look for. Now, the second question that you asked is something completely different. And I've done that as well, which is finding an owner-operated business, a business that is dependent upon the owner, and converting it into a semi-absentee or into an absentee-based business. Okay, and there is a process that you have to take that business through in order to do that. And there's a lot of factors that are involved in it. Factors being the motivation of the seller. When the seller is selling the business, why are they selling it? Are they selling because they're burnt out? Are they selling it because they got sick? Are they selling it because they need to spend more time with their children? So depending on what that motivation is, that's going to tell us when that owner is going to get out. Because in some cases, you can buy a business from the owner operator, and the owner operator continues to run the business for you after you purchased it. Because in some cases, that business owner, when it comes to these brick and mortar businesses, they just don't want to feel the weight of all the moving parts. They don't want to deal with payroll. Like a lot of these people, the owner-operated businesses, these aren't people that went to business school, right? They're not people that know everything there is about running a profitable business. These are people, in many cases, that are just really good at one thing. And they're so good at that one thing, they were able to make enough profit to where they could insulate themselves with systems that would keep the money coming in. Okay. So the business, and so the ones that get burnt out, they want to sell because they're doing things that they didn't want to do. If they like I'll give you an example. A baker started the bakery because she liked baking cakes. That's what she likes to do. And everybody likes her cake. So that's how the business has been growing. But as the business grows, she's like, oh, shoot, I don't have enough time to bake cakes because I got to deal with payroll. And I got to manage the books. And I got to create schedules for these employees. And so a lot of these owner-operated businesses that you come across, that's the issue that they have. They just need somebody to plug systems in to take that off their hand. If it's an owner-operated business, that is, they just need somebody to plug systems in place to take that stuff off their hand. And if you're able to do that, you can get equity in a company, or they'll sell a percentage of the company to you, or sell the company to you outright because they just want to be an employee. Right. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, it did. And it's crazy to think that a business owner would want to become an employee in their own business, right? But it happens.
It sounds crazy. It sounds crazy, but it's actually more common than you think. Even on a larger scale, I'm talking these billion-dollar companies that are getting these big buyouts. I was watching a movie, not a movie, it was a show on Netflix. Man, what's the name of that show? It's a show on Netflix, and it caught me by surprise. The show has Stephen Yeun, and I think his name's Stephen Yeun. He's the Asian guy from The Walking Dead. There's this show, it's called Beef. You know what I'm talking about?
I haven't seen it, but I'll check it out.
Hold on, let me show you this show. Let me see if I can just pull it up real quick. It's a show. You guys can see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is the show. It's called Beef. It's on Netflix right now. I was watching this show, and
I see watching clips of that on TikTok. It was crazy. Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a great show, and without giving away too much of the story, I'm not gonna get into what the beef was about. But this woman right here is one of the main characters. She owns a floral. She owns a florist company. Where she sells flowers and arrangements and stuff like that. And she grew this company, this is so funny. This is a perfect example. She grew the company to make multi-million, multi-million-dollar company. And throughout the show, she's talking to this private equity group who is looking to buy them out, right? And why would they put this in a TV show? Because this is what happens every day. This is happening every day of the week. They wouldn't put it in the show if it doesn't happen. Now, for people that don't understand business, don't understand buying businesses, that plot line or that storyline would just go over their head. They're not even like, if you don't understand M&A, that whole plot line will just go over your head, and you'll just be engulfed in the beef that the people have. But a major part of that plot line is she has this business making millions of dollars, and she's trying to sell it to this private equity company. And the private equity company is offering her maybe like 4 million, 5 million, X amount of dollars for the company. But the catch is, they say the only way we're going to buy this company from you is you have to continue to run the company for X amount of years. And what that is called in the M&A space is an earnout. That's the way that you can structure a deal. It's an earnout, where the owner of the business continues to work in the business, continues to run the business as a part of the acquisition. And so to the statement that you made, Omar, about, it's crazy to think that a business owner would get paid to be an employee in their own business. As I talked about earlier, if I pull that, let me see if I can pull that slide back up. As I talked about earlier, these businesses are their retirement plan, right? These businesses are literally the retirement plan for these business owners. And so if they can't, the only way that they can retire, here it is right here. Here it is right here. Only way that many of them can retire is if they sell their business. Here it is right here. Pull it up. Right? Baby boomers sell their businesses for retirement. Right? So why would a business owner continue to work in their business as an employee if they're selling it? Because that's the only way that they could retire. Otherwise nobody's going to buy it. I don't know if that's like lights should be like bells should be going off in you guys' head.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Right. I talked about in that other video how 8 out of 10 businesses don't even sell. And so as you're talking to a business owner, why would a business owner agree to work in their business as an employee? Well, if you want to sell, this is the arrangement. This is the way that it would have to work. So I hope that answered I hope that fully answered your question, Omar.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes sense now that I think of it. Like, of course, the way that these business owners are looking at it is a way out, right? And I guess you're pretty much the way out, right? By acquiring that business and them being still involved. And I have a little bit a question inside of that is, have you ever had a scenario, or I mean not scenario, but like a situation where you hire a CEO to run a company and then the owner is still there and they might not see, the same vision of the business?
Yes.
Or
Yes. I've had that. But typically, in my experience, once I bring in a CEO or general manager to take the reins from that seller, the seller gets into the mindset, the seller gets happy. They get into the mindset of it's time to, well, it's two ways. I've seen it work two ways. One way, they get short timers and they're like, man, here you go, bro. This is what I do. This is how I do that. Here you go. And it's like like in the military, we have something called the chain of command, or change of command, where the control and everything that one person was doing, they pass it to the next, and so they give that information to that manager. So that's one way it can happen. The other way that I've seen it happen was more negative, where I had a business owner. She was very set in the way that she liked to run the business. And when I brought in a manager, she did not like the manager. But she didn't like the manager. Now, I'm not working in the business, and that was explained from day one in interacting with her. I'm not working in the business. I'll bring in managers and try to find somebody that has the right temperament to not only manage the employees the way that the business has been ran, and that can mesh with you, the seller. And so there were times where I would get phone calls from the manager at the end of the day, and he's like, man, this woman is crazy. And like, I'm like talking him off a cliff. Like, I'm like, bro, like, all you need to do is just get the information from her so we can transition her out of the business. And then I would have to come, and then I may come in or get on a phone call with the business owner saying, hey, I know you guys, maybe see things a little different, but this is how, if you want to retire, this is how it's going to have to take place. And so you have to evaluate whether or not you want to retire. Now, if you tell me that you don't like this guy and there's no way that you can see this person that I'm plugging in take over the business, then maybe what we can do is interview other candidates. But just know, if we interview other candidates, we're going to have to introduce new people to the employees. There's going to be more change. And, we may find ourselves in a situation where you have the devil that you know versus the devil that you don't know. And so that's something that you want to think about. And so when I put it in a position, when I put it in a way like that, the business owner is able to see, okay, the end goal is whatever their motivation is. And that's one of the things that we really, really talk about is the motivation of the seller. In our session with my clients, we talk about the motivation of the seller, because if you know why they're selling, that pain point will help you every time you get to a wall in negotiations or conflict. You're able to remind them why we're doing this to begin. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. I have one more question. So, do you look for businesses just in your local area, your local city, or do you go out of state? And if you do go out of state, how do you manage that?
Everybody asks that question. Why did you ask that question?
Oh, because I want to see how much I can scale if once I start acquiring. I don't want to be just limited,
So I've bought mostly in my area, but not in my city. I refuse to buy a business in my city. And that's for a number of reasons. One, I don't want to bump into any of my employees at Walmart. Right. So
yeah.
I just think it would be awkward. Just weird. I'm in Walmart with my wife and my kids, and then hey, that's my boss. I don't like that. And I'm a very very private person. If you guys haven't noticed, but I'm a very private person, and I don't like to. I just don't like that. So all my businesses are at least 2 hours or more a driving distance away from me. And that's one of the reasons I don't want to bump into I don't want to bump into employees. I don't want to bump into my customers. I don't want to bump into into customers. Now, most of the customers in my business, they don't know that I'm the owner. And I'll tell you, man, there's no better joy for me, at least, and maybe it's different for you guys, but for me, there's no better joy than me being on site at one of my businesses. An employee walks in, an inspector walks in, a vendor walks in, and they walk past me or they ask me, "Where's the boss? Where's the boss? I need to talk to the boss, or I need to talk to the manager." Like, to me, like, that's an amazing feeling when someone comes into one of my businesses that I own and they say, "I need to talk to the manager. I need to talk," because if they knew that I was the owner, they would just talk to me.
Yeah.
They know that I'm the owner. And
Yeah.
that, and in all reality, you don't want people to know that you're the owner.
Yeah.
You don't want them to know that, you know. But to your question in regards to proximity, like I said, for me, a minimum. California is a huge state. It's a very, very big state. So depending on what state you live in, a 2 hours drive could be the next state over, right?
Yeah.
Depending on the size, like if you live in a small state like a New Jersey or a Maryland or Delaware, a 2 hour drive, you're in the next state over. So to answer that question, yeah, all my businesses are 2 hours away, and it's for that reason. Could I buy businesses in my city? Yes, I can, but I just don't. I don't like to for the reasons that I shared with you guys.
Okay, that makes sense. I don't have any. Yeah. Oh, I have a question about like the funding part of things. So there's like multiple ways to structure deals, right? What is the most common way that you see is that you need little to no money to structure it? Because every situation, every business owner has a different situation. So how do you go about that? Do you have like a set rule that's like, okay, this is one fits all, or is it just varies?
It's very every deal. I saw a guy. He bought a restaurant for a boat. All the seller wanted was a boat, fishing
A
boat.
boat? What?
All the seller
Dude,
wanted
that's
was a fishing boat. And once this guy was able to identify that motivation, he structured a deal where he got the business in exchange for a boat. The thing you guys got to understand is a business is just a widget. It's just like anything. It's like anything. It's like a car, right? Like a car or a video game or a Pokemon card, Yu-Gi-Oh card, a trading card, a baseball card. It's a widget. It's just a thing. Now, if especially for the target business seller that I push my clients towards, these are people that have ran these businesses 10, 15, 20 years. The business is just a thing that they have that creates revenue. And many of them have already made more money than many people than some people could spend in a lifetime from these small businesses. They've already made the money. They already have multiple houses and beach houses and boats and cars and all that stuff, right? They already have the money and they got money saved up. They already have all the money that they need. You know, the business is just a thing. It's just a thing that is in the way of their retirement. And the reason why they don't want to just close the business, reason why they don't want to just shut down the business is because if they shut down the business, their employees are going to lose their jobs. And some of these employees have been with them for 10, 15 years. And these employees have put their kids through college through this business. These employees are paying their mortgages through this business. And so they don't want to just shut the business down Because if I shut the business down, Mike is going to lose his job, and Mike's not going to be able to pay his mortgage. And I got to sell the business to the right person, because if I don't sell the business to the right person, then it's going to go belly up, and Mike's going to lose his job, and Sharon's going to lose her job. And Sharon's putting her son through college.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense.
Any other questions? I got about 10 minutes.
Honestly, I have no more questions. I think everything that just came to my mind right now is been answered. Um, yeah, I mean, that's about it. I think, my main concern was like, just like everything after the business, because that's like, because now you have it in your hand, and it's a pretty big, it's a kind of a scary thing. I mean, I've never bought a business, so I would assume it's a scary thing, when you take a whole thing and now what do you do, right?
Yep, it is. It absolutely is.
Yeah,
Especially if you've never sold, especially for the people that have never sold a business before.
yeah. And like, okay, so one more question is about, so like when you structure your deals, do you face like does the seller, like, do they feel uncomfortable about seller financing? Like how often are they open to seller financing?
It's all about how you present it, and that's one thing that I think in session 3 we talk about that, the way in which you present seller financing. Um, I think I did a TikTok video on that as well, where the person is saying, "Hey, can I get seller financing?" And the guy just laughed at him. No, you're not getting it. Um, there's a way in which you have to present it. And really all it is, the secret sauce is it just has to make sense. But you have to help them see that this is the only way that the deal is going to get done. And that's really what negotiation is, give and take. So they have to see that, okay, the only way this deal is going to get done is I got to carry a certain percentage, but there's steps that you have to take, right? You got to be properly positioned. This is the best way that I can explain it. This is the best way that I can explain it. A person, I want to say a person. I'll say a bank. I'll use this example. I'll use this example. Banks, because this is really how it is in M&A as well. Banks. Have you noticed that someone that's wanting to get a credit card or wanting to get a loan from a bank, this person, they need money from the bank, but the banks only give money to people that have money, not necessarily to people that need it.
Yeah, for security, right?
Right. So, and sometimes for like no doc loans, the bank doesn't even need to verify that you have the money that you say that you have. They just need to think that you do.
Yeah.
And if they think that you have the money, then they'll give you the loan, or they'll give you the line of credit, or they'll give you the credit card.
Mm-hmm.
Well, seller financing is no different, right? If a person is coming to a seller of a business, and that person is broke, and they present themselves as broke, they present themselves as an individual looking to buy this business, and they're asking for seller financing, more than likely they're not going to get it. Man, this is a gem.
Yeah.
You guys. Oh man. And so that's why my first session, we talk about positioning and structure and how to structure yourself where when you approach these business owners, they're able to see you as not a person, but as a business that's
Yeah.
buying another business.
So you gotta look like a big shot, pretty much.
Not a big shot, but just as a person that's buying
Okay.
another business.
Okay. So like an entity that's acquiring businesses.
There you go.
Okay.
That's what the positioning is all about. That's what holding companies are all about.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
And
all
so
the
when
questions.
you have that proper positioning, you have that proper positioning, and when they talk to you, that's another huge thing, right? A man's excessive there's a proverb, a man's excessive laughter in his gait tells you who he is, right? So you can look at a person and talk to them, and in conversation, you can tell whether or not that person knows anything, whether they're wise at anything, or whether they're broke or wealthy or whatever. You can have a conversation with someone, and those are things that you can pick up, or you can have a conversation and know whether or not they know what they're talking about, right? And so when you're talking to these business owners, if you've never done a deal before and you don't know what questions to ask them, you don't know how the conversation, because that's a huge thing, is conversation. A lot of people, they go into this talking to these business owners and they don't know what to say, and they don't know, they don't have control of the conversation with the seller. They don't have control of the conversation with the business broker. And the business broker is really, I haven't even really touched on business brokers, but business brokers, they're the gatekeepers. And so, you don't know how to talk to a business broker. You don't know how to talk to a business seller. You're not even getting in the door, right? They're not even going to take you serious enough to do a deal. And you guys haven't really engaged with business brokers, so you don't really know the difficulty that many people have when engaging with business brokers. But I'll tell you this: when it comes to brokers, I love brokers. Many people that get into this space of buying businesses, many people that get into this space of someone tambourine coming. Many people that is it Tabaree? There he is. Welcome. We closing out pretty soon. But many people that get into this space of buying businesses, they don't know how to talk to business brokers. They never talked to a business broker before, and so they make a horrible first impression with that business broker, and as a result, they never get to talk to the seller. And so there's but what I have, I mean, it's over what I got 300 questions and statements and things in addition to when we talk about structure that you can say to a seller. And even if you've never done a business deal in your life, if you just follow the script that I give you, you just follow the script, ask the questions, make the statements, just read it. Talking to a business owner, they're going to out the gate know that, or at least think that you know what you're doing and you know how to put a deal together. Because that's really what it's all about, is they have to know, right? And we talked about these kids, they don't, the problem with these millennials and the next generation in regards to their parents passing the business down, they don't know how to structure a deal, and they don't know the jargon. They don't know how they don't know those things. And so when you're talking to a seller, you're talking to a business owner, you're talking to a broker, and you don't say certain things, they're going to know that you're inexperienced, and they're not going to be able to see you as a person that could actually see running their business. Like in the video that you guys watched, I don't know if Tabaree has watched it. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Tabaree. But in the video that you guys watched, I talked about how I bought a business for $1. And I said, well, this is how I did it. I said, this is how I did it. And then I said, I got them to like me. I got them to trust me. I got them to see that I was the perfect person for the business. I'm telling you right now, those 3 things are the most important thing that you could do. But in order to do those things, you got to be properly structured. You got to have the right structure, and you got to know what to say. You have to know what to say, how to talk to them. And in addition to that, you have to know different ways to put a deal together. You gotta be a deal maker. Because if you're a deal maker, like I'll put it like this. As a deal maker, it doesn't matter to me how that seller wants to structure the deal. That doesn't matter to me, right? It doesn't matter to me, because even if this route doesn't work, then I can present another option to them that makes sense in order for us to get here, which is closing the deal, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's basically just all how well you can put together a deal. And I think that's how it is. I know real estate agents, and they say the same thing. It's kind of the same thing in their field also. It's like how well you can structure a deal. I guess that's the whole gist of acquiring businesses, right?
Exactly. And even with even when you talk about real estate agents, right? When a real estate agent gets a call from a person or someone that's looking to purchase a house from them, based on how that potential buyer speaks to that real estate agent, the real estate agent out the gate is going to know whether or not this person has the ability to close the deal or not, right? Like, do you have proof of funds, or do you have a pre-approval letter? No, I don't have a pre-approval letter. Out the gate.
Yep. Hang up.
They're gonna. Oh, here's a lender you could talk to, or so you're here, talk to him, and then get back to me after that. And in reality, I'll tell you what, that's the buyer's agent. The buyer's agent that's doing that. But when you call the seller, I don't know if I don't know if you're on real estate or not, but if you've ever called a seller's agent, on a property, on a residential property, seller's agent, they have really short fuses. You call them, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, my brother's a real estate agent, so
right. The seller, and for those that may not know what a seller's agent is, if you look at a house, let's say you go on Zillow or you go on Realtor.com and you pull up a house, and it has a realtor's name right there, that's not the person that is supposed to help. That's designed to help you buy that house. That's the seller's agent. That's the person that got the listing. And so that person, they may have spent thousands of dollars in marketing to find a person that is willing to sell their house. Okay. They're spending all their money on finding a listing. So when a person calls them to potentially buy that house, and that person says, hey, I don't even have a pre-approval letter. Do you have a pre-approval letter? I don't have a pre-approval letter. That seller's agent is like, man, get off my phone. Because here's a buyer's agent you can talk to, and they'll help you get yourself in a position where you can buy buy this piece of property. They'll connect you with the lender, they'll connect you with this and that, and then they can talk to me. Well, buying a business, these business brokers, they're just selling it. They're listing agents. That's all they are. And so you get on the phone with a business broker, and you don't know what to say. You don't say the right things, or you don't present yourself in the right way. They're going to have a very short fuse. They're going to get off the phone. They're not going to return. Or they're going to get off the phone. They're probably going to hang up on you. And I've been hung up especially when I first started learning how to do this. I had to learn it the hard way. They'll hang up on you, and they won't return any of your calls. They won't respond to your text messages, and that's it. right? And once you get burned in a city, because some cities have some markets, depending on what part of the country you live in, there may be one or two business brokerages over that entire city that it's getting the majority of the business listings. And so, the majority of the business listings are being held by that singular business brokerage. And so if you have a bad experience or you come off as someone that doesn't have the ability to close a deal to a business broker, more than likely, any of the other listings in that city are held by that office and maybe a different listing agent. But when you call on that business, they're going to say, oh, what's your name? Boom. Oh, hey, Mike, this guy Omar, I saw he called you about a deal. Oh yeah, that guy, he doesn't know. He can't buy a business, man. He doesn't he didn't even have this, he doesn't have that, because you didn't know how to properly position yourself to talk to them. But on the flip side, when you position yourself the right way, which is what I teach my clients how to do, you position yourself the right way and you talk to these business brokers, and they're able to see you as a player, man, the game is changed, because now not only do they want to show you all the deals that they have, but they also want to introduce you to other brokers, not just in their agency, but also colleagues that they may have. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that answer your question. Man, John hopped off. I know he probably had a question.
Oh man, I just kept on rambling.
No. But that was good. You asked some really good questions, Omar. Really good questions. I'm looking forward to our call tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm about to close out. Tabaru, hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Do you have any questions? Okay. No questions. All right. Well, this whole thing was recorded. So you'll be able to go back and watch the recording. If there was some, some gems that you want to go back and record. And I'm going to post I'll post the recording in the group.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
All right, man. Appreciate this whole thing.
Yes, sir. All right. Well,
all right, man. Yeah,
next time I'm gonna try to do one of these Q&A calls, maybe either once a week or every other week. Just kind of depends on requests. I won't probably have as much information in the front as we go on. What I really want to do with these calls is get it to where maybe people have deals that they are looking at, and we can talk about the deal and analyze the deal and see if it's something worth jumping into.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Can't wait.
All right. All right. So we'll end it right here, bro. Talk to you guys later.
All right.
All right. Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.